Goosebumps HorrorLand, Dr. Maniac versus Robby Schwartz. So, book 5 in the HorrorLand series. Chapter 7. A few minutes later, Mom and Dad were staring at Brooke, shaking their heads. Their hands were still dirty from the garden. Dad had a wide dirt smear across his sweaty forehead. "I am telling the truth," Brooke screamed. "Would I make something like this up?" Dad waved both hands in front of him. "Shh, calm down. Everybody calm down." "Did you call 911? Mom asked. She folded her arms around her chest. I could see how scared she was. Her chin was trembling. "Yes, the police are on their way," Dad said. I sat next to Brooke on my bed. I kept staring at the open window. Brooke's story rolled through my mind again and again. Dad wiped his forehead with his shirt sleeve. "Tell us again," he said to Brooke. "Start at the beginning. Think hard, Brooke. Tell us what really happened." "I already told you what really happened," Brooke insisted. Her voice cracked. She was breathing hard. "But how can we believe—" Mom started. Brooke interrupted. "I swear," she cried. She raised her right hand as if she were taking an oath. "Tell us again," Dad said softly. Brooke took a deep breath. Then she started talking in a trembling voice. "Sam and I were playing battle chess on Robby's laptop. We heard a noise at the window. We turned around, and Dr. Maniac flew into the room." Still hugging herself, Mom squinted hard at Brooke. "Dr. Maniac? Robby's comic book character? You're telling us a comic character flew in the window?" Brooke swallowed hard. "Yes, he landed right in front of us. He grabbed Sam and pulled him off his chair. I tried to save him, but I wasn't fast enough. Dr. Maniac dragged him across the room, and then he flew out the window with him." Brooke started to sob. Her whole body shuddered. Dad stepped forward and patted her shoulder to calm her down. His hand left a round dirt smear on her sleeve. Okay, he whispered. Mom started pacing back and forth. "Brooke, Robby made up Dr. Maniac," she said. "He's a comic strip character. You do realize he isn't real." Brooke let out a sob. She wiped her wet cheeks with her hands. "I know you don't believe me," she choked out, "but he was real. He was here, and he took Sam with him." "But Brooke, that's impossible," Mom said. She leaned over Brooke. "Don't be afraid to tell us what really happened. Tell us the truth." "Whoa, wait," I cried. My heart skipped a beat. I stared at something on the floor in front of the open window. I jumped off the bed, crossed the room, and picked it up. 2 feathers. 2 yellow feathers. "Mom, Dad," I shouted. I held up the feathers. "Dr. Maniac has yellow feathers on his boots," I said. They both stared at the feathers. Brooke jumped off the bed, strode over to me, and took the feathers from my hand. "I told you," she whispered. "I told you." Mom opened her mouth to say something, but a noise downstairs stopped her. Loud thuds on the front door. "Police!" a deep voice shouted. "Police! Please open the door. We found your son." "Oh, thank goodness," Mom cried. "They found him," Dad exclaimed. The 4 of us went running to the bedroom door. We made a traffic jam of arms and legs as we all tried to squeeze out the door at the same time. Mom and Dad practically flew down the stairs. Brooke and I followed close behind. I was gasping for breath as Dad pulled open the front door. I stared at 2 black uniformed police officers. They stood at the front stoop with a boy I'd never seen before. Mom let out a cry. Her eyes bulged as she stared at the boy. He was tall and athletic looking, with curly brown hair, green eyes, and freckles on his cheeks. "You're not Sam," she yelled. "I told them," the boy said. "My name's Jerem." He rolled his eyes. "How come no one ever believes kids?" "This isn't your son?" one of the officers asked. Mom and Dad shook their heads. "Where do you live?" the officer asked. "On Brentwood," Jerem said, "near the old library. My bike had a flat tire, and I was trying to walk home. That's when you stopped me." "Take Jerem home," the officer told his partner. "Sorry, son." He turned to my parents. "I'm Officer Rawls. I'm really sorry about the mix-up. Let's go inside and straighten this out." So we all trooped into the living room. The 4 of us sat on the edge of the couch. Officer Rawls leaned against the mantelpiece and took notes on a little pad. Brooke began her story, but before she could get very far, the door opened and Taylor stepped into the room. "I'm back from Patsy's," she called. Then she saw the officer and stopped with a gasp. "What's up?" "Sam is missing," Mom told her. "Come here. Sit down with me. Brooke is going to tell the officer what happened." So Brooke told her story all over again. By the time she was finished, Officer Rawls had his cap off. He was scratching his short brown hair and blinking his eyes a lot. Taylor walked over to Brooke. "Hello," she said. "Are you and Sam playing practical joke on us?" As I said, our whole family likes to play jokes, except for Mom, of course, so naturally that's the first thing Taylor thought. "It's not a joke," Brooke whispered. Tears rolled down her cheeks again. Really, not a joke. Taylor went pale. Her mouth dropped open. She stared hard at Brooke. Officer Rawls placed his cap back on his head. He glanced at the little notepad in his hand. Then he turned back to Brooke. Brooke, please listen to me, he said softly. I want you to think long and hard about this. You can see how upset Sam's family is. I want you to think about what happened up in Robby's room, and then tell it one more time. Brooke let out a long sigh. Then she began telling her story again. I couldn't sit still. I felt sick. My stomach was bubbling and churning. I kept picturing that open window, and I kept seeing my little brother's face, pudgy and smiling. Would I ever see him again? I wandered into the den. I heard noises. The TV was on. A talk show my mom likes. It stars this big man with bright red hair that stands straight up on his head. Red Martinson. I hate Red Martinson. He laughs at his own jokes. He thinks he's a real riot. Mom thinks he's cute. I reached for the remote to turn off the TV. So tell me, Martinsons was saying to a guest, how do you feel about things now? I let out a sharp cry when I saw the guest. The remote fell from my hand. I can't believe it, I gasped. I was staring at the Purple Rage. Red Martinson's guest was my comic character, the Purple Rage. How do I feel about things? The rage boomed. I'm angry. Know what really pinches my piano? Everything. I'm angry about everything. His face turned as purple as his costume. His eyes were red and looked like they were about to pop out of his head. I'm angry, he shouted, and thumped his big fist on Red Martinson's desk. Most of our viewers won't believe you're real, Martinson said. Do something super to prove you're a real deal. That burns my bubble blower, the rage screamed. That makes me even angrier. How could I be on TV if I'm not real? Then his face turned an even darker purple. Only a supervillain could turn that purple. I gasped at the screen in disbelief. The rage? Real? How could that be? Mom and Dad have got to see this. Breathless, I spun away from the TV. I ran back into the living room. Brooke was still telling her story. Officer Rawls was writing in his little pad. I ran up to Mom and Dad. Hurry, I screamed. In the other room, on TV. I pulled them toward the den. It's my other comic character, I cried. You'll see. It's the Purple Rage, for real. They followed me into the den. I pointed to the TV. So what plans do you have for the future? Red Martinson was asking. I'm glad you asked that question, the guest replied. Huh? My mouth dropped open. Where did the Purple Rage go? The guest was a white-haired man in a gray suit with a red necktie. That's Congressman McClue, Dad said. Robby, why did you pull us in here to see Congressman McClue? Chapter 9. My whole body was shaking. I stared at the screen. How could the Purple Rage disappear like that? Mom rested her hand on my shoulder. Robby, we know how upset you are, she said softly. We know how much you care about your brother. But don't make it worse by making up crazy stories. But, I sputtered. My brain was spinning. I couldn't speak. Officer Rawls said he had to leave. He told us to stick around. He said he would send his crime scene people to study the yard and the whole house. He promised he'd come back. Mom and Dad went to Taylor's room to comfort her. I pulled Brooke aside. No one believes me, Brooke said, her voice cracking. No one believes me either, I said, but I know I'm not crazy. The Purple Rage was on TV. I saw him. Brooke shook her head. Maybe we are crazy. I mean, comic characters coming to life? I started to the front door. Are you coming with me? I asked. She held back. Huh? Where? To the TV station, I said. The Rage might still be there. Huh? The TV station? Robby, do you know where it is? Yes, I said, remember? Our school went there last year to be on that kids' show. I pulled open the front door. Bright sunlight poured over me. Are you coming or not? I asked Brooke. She thought for a few seconds, biting her bottom lip. Okay, she said, let's go. We took a bus to the Middle Meadows Mall. The WSTR TV station was in a big green glass building behind the mall. Brooke and I stepped up to the green glass door at the front. I pushed the bell. The door buzzed. I pulled it open, and we walked into the reception area. A blonde-haired woman with bright orange lipstick sat behind the front desk. She wore a black business suit with a crisp white blouse. She had a sparkly starfish pin on her jacket. WSTR is the starfish station. Don't ask me why. My throat felt tight as I hurried up to her desk, and my hands were sweaty. I tried to brush down my wild and woolly hair to look more businesslike. Can we see Red Martinston? I asked. She studied me, then Brooke. Do you have an appointment? She asked. I shook my head. No, but it's really important, I said. We just want to ask him one question, Brooke said. Are you with your school newspaper? The woman asked. She tapped a pencil on her desk. Yes, I lied. We want to interview Mr. Martinson for our paper. Well, you need an appointment for that, the woman replied. But, I started, was the Purple Rage here? Brooke asked. We just want to know if the Purple Rage was on his show. The woman stopped tapping her pencil. She took a clipboard and ran her eyes down the top page. Is he a chef? You might want to try the cooking show. I let out a sigh. You don't understand, I said. He isn't a chef. He's a supervillain. I thought I made him up, but I saw him on TV, so maybe he's real. And if he's real, she squinted at me. Are you making any sense? I don't think so. I heard someone coming down the metal stairway, right behind the receptionist's desk. Hey, I cried as Red Martinston stepped out. He wasn't dressed like he was on his show. He wore jeans and a black and red t-shirt that said Cleveland Rocks. His red hair still stood straight up like an evergreen tree on his head. He waved to the receptionist and started to the front door, but then he suddenly stopped and turned around to face us. Hey, I like your hairstyle, kid, he said to me. He laughed. Are you copying me? Yes, I blurted out. I mean, no. Mr. Martinston, we came to see you. Sorry, he said. I left my autographed photos up in my dressing room. Can you come back? I'm in a rush. He pulled open the front door. Brooke hurried after him. She grabbed his arm. Was the Purple Rage just on your show? She asked. Martinston nodded. Yes, he said. At first I thought it was a joke, but he proved he was really a supervillain, so I put him on the show. Did you enjoy my interview? My heart started to pound. Where is he? I cried. Is he still here? Where did he go? Martinston shrugged. He had to fly somewhere, he said. He went up to the roof to take off. I didn't wait. I spun around and ran. I brushed past the startled receptionist. I grabbed the metal banister and began running up the winding staircase. Stop, she screamed. Hey, stop. You can't go up there. My shoes clanged on the metal stairs. I heard Brooke running right behind me. Where were we headed? Could we get to the roof from here? Was the Purple Rage still up there? Stop, the receptionist screamed. Security, security, stop them. Chapter 10. I reached the second floor and kept climbing. The stairway straightened out. The stairs were concrete up here. I could hear the heavy thuds of men's shoes behind us, coming up fast. Stop, a man yelled. Security, stop right there. Their angry voices echoed in the narrow hallway. My chest felt about to explode. My legs ached, but I kept climbing, taking the stairs 2 at a time. The third floor went by, and then the fourth. Gasping for breath, I glanced back. Brooke? No, not here. She had been right behind me. Did one of those security guards grab her? Brooke, I shouted. Brooke! My cries echoed down the stairwell. No reply. My legs felt like heavy weights. My chest and side throbbed with pain, but I kept pulling myself up the steps. Stop now. You can't get away. Stop running. The voices boomed behind me. Finally, I reached the top of the stairs. A broad yellow door stood at the end. I lowered my shoulder, heaved, and shoved it open. With a gasp, I stumbled out into bright sunlight. I fell onto the flat, tar-papered roof, landed hard on my knees. Blinking in the light, I saw a blur of purple, just a brief flash, a 1-second glimpse of a purple cape. Wait, I choked out, but my voice creaked out in a whisper. The Purple Rage. It had to be him. I jumped to my feet and staggered to the edge of the roof. Wait, I screamed a little louder this time. I stumbled to the edge of the roof, leaned over the side to see the Purple Rage. Whoa, I leaned too far. It happened so fast. 1 second, I was leaning out over the edge, and the next second, the roof seemed to slide out from under my feet, and I was falling. Chapter 11. The buildings soared past me in a gray blur. The powerful rush of the wind chilled my back. I fell so fast I couldn't hear my own scream. Down, down in a bright blur. No time to ready myself for the crash and the burst of pain that would end my life. And then thud. I hit hard. Pain shot through my arms, my neck, my back. My head bounced up. The sky appeared to wrap itself around me like a blue blanket. No, purple. A purple blanket gripping me tightly. And then a red face with a grim, tight-lipped expression. Huh? It took me a moment to realize I hadn't hit the ground. I was still in the air, held up in the air, by the Purple Rage. Yes, one arm under my legs, the other under my shoulders, lifting me to the sky. His cape was fluttering noisily in the wind. His dark eyes gazed straight ahead, then down as we started to descend. His powerful arms held me tightly against his massive purple chest. The purple rage had swooped up and rescued me. He floated to the sidewalk, cape fluttering behind him. He set me gently on my feet. I was shaking so hard I dropped to my knees. I knew my hair was standing straight up, wild around my face. I swallowed again and again, struggling to catch my breath. The rage pulled me to my feet. He held me up by my shoulders. His eyes burned into mine. "Know what paddles my pancakes?" he boomed. His voice was so loud and deep, it made pigeons squawk and fly off in the sidewalk. "Kids who fall off buildings. That puts me in a rage." "Sorry," I stammered. "Were you chasing me?" he bellowed. "No," I choked out. My heart was still hammering in my chest. "Not exactly." I stared back at him. Was I dreaming this? This wasn't a comic strip. This was real life. But there he was in front of me. His purple gloves held me by the shoulders. His eyes glared at me angrily. A character I created. I need your help," I said, finally finding my voice. "My brother, Sam, is missing. I think Dr. Maniac took him." The purple rage tossed back his head and uttered an angry roar. His eyes blazed red like fire, and he curled his hands into big fists. "My sworn enemy?" he roared. "You say your brother has teamed up with my sworn enemy?" "No, that's not what I said," I replied. But he roared like a furious beast again and drowned out my words. "Listen to me," I begged. But he lifted himself off the ground. He spun around and kicked a store window with the toe of his purple boot. I ducked as the glass shattered and flew everywhere. The rage kicked out a few more store windows. Then he turned back to me, his big chest heaving. "How could your brother team up with that maniac?" he screamed. "I heard that Dr. Maniac teamed up with the Scarlet Scarlet." I don't know," I stammered, backing away. "The Scarlet Scarlet? I drew her in my very first comic strip. Was she real too?" I took a deep breath. "Are you going to help me?" I asked. That sent him into another rage. His face turned as purple as his costume. He grabbed the front of my shirt and lifted me off the sidewalk. "Dr. Maniac sent you to spy on me, didn't he?" he boomed. His hot breath burned my eyebrows. No, I said. "Liar!" he screamed. He gazed up to the top of the roof. "Wonder if I could toss you back up to the roof," he said. "No, please," I begged. His fist tightened on the front of my t-shirt. He raised me above his head. "Please, I only want your help," I wailed. "Don't throw me, don't—" I glanced around. Wasn't there anyone around to help me? No, the street was empty. "Looking for your friend Dr. Maniac?" the rage cried. "Sorry, kid. He's too late to save you." He pulled back his arm and heaved me with all his strength. "No!" I screamed again as I went flying up into the sky. Chapter 12. My scream caught in my throat. I couldn't breathe. The wind rushed too hard against my face. I sailed straight up, my arms and legs thrashing. I shut my eyes and slammed hard into the side of the building. Thud. My breath shot out in a whoosh. Pain swept over my chest. I choked and gasped for air. I kept my eyes shut and waited to die. I counted to myself. 1, 2, 3. On 3, I felt another thud. I opened my eyes and saw the red-faced supervillain staring at me. The purple rage had caught me. He saved me again. As we flew, he held me in front of him like a loaf of bread. "Changed my mind, kid," he shouted, "but it was good to see the old arm is still in shape. I could probably throw you to the next town." You're not going to, are you?" I asked. He floated to the ground and set me down again. I bent over, grabbed my knees, and waited for my breath to return to normal. I tried to brush down my hair with both hands, but it sprang right back up. After today's adventure, I knew it would probably never come back down. "Does this mean you'll help me find my brother?" I asked. The purple rage nodded. "I will make it my mission. I cannot leave him in the hands of my sworn enemy." "Awesome," I said. "Yes, I am awesome," he declared, sticking out his big chest. "Do you know what really snaps my shorts? When other people tell me how awesome I am, because I already know it." He grabbed a lamppost and bent it in two. "Sorry," I murmured. This is all so totally weird." He squinted at me. "Weird?" "Yes," I said. "Do you know that I created you?" "No!" the rage bellowed furiously. "You liar! I was created by a scream from the mouth of the ancient god Thor." Before I could move, he grabbed me up with both hands, holding me in front of him. He took off. The wind blew against my face. Behind me, I could hear his purple cape snapping against the air. He soared higher, above the cars, above the buildings. "Where are we going?" I screamed into the wind. "What are you doing?" We flew toward the sun, into blinding white light. I shielded my eyes with one hand. I tried not to look down, but I couldn't help it. Far below us, a freight train rolled on the North Hills tracks. It looked like one of those toy trains people set up in their basements. The buildings all looked like dollhouses. Please, I begged. Why was he so angry? What did I say to put him in such a rage? Then I remembered he's always in a rage. We neared the edge of town, and he suddenly swooped lower. A building came into view, hidden by tall evergreen trees. It was a round stone building shaped like an igloo, no windows, a low door in the front. The building was completely surrounded by trees. Was it his hidden fortress? I hadn't created a hidden fortress for him. I hadn't created any of this. It was all happening without me, beyond my control. We dropped lower. I ducked my head as the purple rage roared into the open door. It was like a huge dark cave inside. We flew down. The air felt heavy and wet. I blinked hard, waiting for my eyes to adjust. He dropped me onto my feet. I watched his cape settle behind him. He swept back his dark hair with both gloved hands. Then he pulled off the gloves and tossed them against the wall. Know what really tweaks my tutu? He shouted. Dead leaves in my hair. How am I supposed to fly with leaves in my perfect hair? Dunno, I muttered. Where are we? I asked in a tiny voice. He didn't answer. He moved to the wall and began clicking on lights. I glanced around. We stood in a large underground cavern. The walls were solid stone. The room was filled with camera equipment and spotlights. I saw a table filled with computers. 2 TV cameras stood side by side next to a microphone on a long pole. Is this like a TV studio? I asked. The rage didn't answer. He was busy fiddling with the computers. He typed frantically on the keyboard, then moved to another. Then he pointed a TV camera at a glass case against the wall. Something moved inside the big case. I walked over to it and gazed through the glass. Dozens of dark, spiny creatures crawled all over each other. What are those? I asked, pointing. Scorpions, the purple rage answered. You keep a huge glass filled of scorpions? My voice came out shrill and tight. But what do you do with them? You'll see, he murmured. He began moving toward the case. I watched the scorpions sliding, crawling, scraping, snapping their claws at each other. They look hungry, I said. A strange, unpleasant smile spread over his face. I'm going to feed them in a minute, he said. What do you feed them? I asked. He tossed back his head and laughed. You, he said.